Hello everyone. Today we're back with another tier list power rankings for the NFL. This is post week 13. It is Monday, the day after all the games, and what a week it was. I say every week that we see so many good teams lose every single week, and it proves to be right once again. So let's get right on into this tier list. As you can see, the tier list is already done. The Lions are the best team in the NFL. No, I'm just kidding. Seriously, we're going to get right on into it. Please leave a like, subscribe, and feel free to comment if you would change anything. Starting it off, we have the worst team in the NFL. It is the Houston Texans. They had a horrible time this week against the Indianapolis Colts. They lost Tyrod Taylor. It was not a great game for them. They got shut out, and they are finally worse than the Detroit Lions. Now, the next worst team, you know what? I'm going to throw the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm going to get hate for this. But the Lions are constantly in close games. And yeah, they don't win the games, but they're always in tight games, even against decent teams. The Jags, you kind of see where they are when they play. They're not looking good at all, but the Lions can go right here. Like I said, they're in a lot of close games, but they don't pull them out. This week without DeAndre Swift, they still got the win, 29-27 against the Minnesota Vikings. I'm a Lions fan, so it was a sweet victory. The Lions, I thought, were clearly trying to tank the game. They went for it on 4th down in their own territory late in the game when they had a lead, when they could have punted. But ultimately, it worked out for them. They got the win. Next up is going to be the New York Jets. The Jets lost this week to the Philadelphia Eagles. Zach Wilson's looking better. He's looking better, but Corey Davis got banged up again. They still don't look good by any means, which is why they're in this bottom tier. And the team next to them in bottom tier, the Chicago Bears, they also did not look good this week. They played the Arizona Cardinals, one of the best teams in the NFL, to be fair. But they didn't look good. It was a rainy game, bad weather. Andy Dalton was in at quarterback. The Bears just not hitting this year. They're not looking good this year, and that's why they are in the bottom tier. I think to round out this tier, we're going to throw the New York Giants, both the New York teams in the bottom tier. The Giants, you could argue maybe moving them up one spot when you see the team that I'm going to throw in the almost there tier. But they lost this week to the Miami Dolphins. They did beat the Philadelphia Eagles a couple weeks back. Granted, it was all because of Jalen Reagor missing that pass in the end zone to end the game. Not all because of that, but for the most part. Next up, we're going to throw the Atlanta Falcons. They're going to go a tier above this bottom tier. Now, they lost this week to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but it was a decent enough game, It was competitive up until the end, so shout out to the Falcons for making it close. But they didn't get the win, and they're going to stay in this almost there tier for this week. Next up, we have a team that was on a bye week this week. It is the Carolina Panthers. They needed the bye week. They're looking awful right now. I think they might have even went down from last week on their bye. If not, they're in the same spot, but just not looking good for the Panthers right now. They got to figure some things out on offense. Defensively, they're okay. They started off the season great on defense, but that's about all I have to say for the Carolina Panthers. Next up, a team that got a win this week. They moved up from bottom tier, and I hated putting them in bottom tier last week, but it is the Seattle Seahawks. This is my team, man. The Seahawks and the Lions, my two teams. I'm exposed right there. Am I biased for moving them up this high? I don't think so. They beat a good team in the San Francisco 49ers in a close divisional game. They still have so many things to work out, but hopefully Russell Wilson can progress as the season comes to a close and can at least get better in the upcoming weeks than he was when he first came back from injury. Next up, a team that's going to fall a little bit. It is the New Orleans Saints. They lost this week to the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday Night Football. Feels like a long time ago. Their offense just hasn't looked good. This past week with Taysom Hill, they looked better on offense. He threw 4 interceptions, though. Just something to think about. Next up, a team that lost this week to the Detroit Lions. It is the Minnesota Vikings. They lost this week to the Detroit Lions. I have to repeat that out loud. Wow. They were the last leg of my parlay. I bet on a bunch of the early slate games, the money line, and I just needed them to win the game against the Detroit Lions for me to win my parlay and win some money, but Detroit scores a last-second touchdown, a walk-off touchdown, and it just blew my mind. It blew my mind. To be fair, their offense looked pretty good, but defensively they were awful. They did lose Adam Thielen in this game, but no worries. You have Justin Jefferson. Just throw it to him 30 times a game. That's what Kirk Cousins did. They still lost to the Lions, though. Sorry. And next up, the Philadelphia Eagles. They're going to round out this tier right here. They got a win this week against the New York Jets, but it was the New York Jets. They're going on bye week. Hopefully Jalen Hurts can heal up, even though Gardner Minshew did look good. Miles Sanders, he seems to be injured again. It didn't look good. Another lower leg injury. But yeah, the Eagles, they're going to round out the top of this tier right here. Right here. And going on into the playoff hopeful tier, a team that is 500, it is the Las Vegas Raiders. They lost this week to the Washington football team. You know, the Raiders just fell flat on offense. Derek Carr didn't look too great. They were missing Darren Waller. Just one of those off games for the Raiders. There was a bright spot. It was Josh Jacobs. He looked good. Kenyon Drake broke his ankle, unfortunately. So the Raiders are going to have to rely heavily on Josh Jacobs and a little bit of Peyton Barber here and there. Next up, a team that also lost this week, the Denver Broncos. They lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. It was a relatively close game, a defensive game, Sunday Night Football. Second half, Javonte Williams broke out, and you could see without Melvin Gordon, he was going to be a good option in fantasy football, and he looked good in real life too. But the Broncos, they lost a close game to Kansas City. They've looked pretty good as of late. They're like right in the middle. They're a 500 team. Next up, the Miami Dolphins. They're on a nice win streak with Tua Tagovailoa throwing pretty good. You know, slinging the rock around a little bit to Jalen Waddle. You got Mike Gesicki out there mossing some people this week. You had Devontae Parker back making great catches, so the Dolphins look good right now. They're on a nice win streak. Their defense is coming together. Let's see what kind of push they can make towards the end of the season. Next up, another team that is on bye this week. It is the Cleveland Browns. I don't remember where they were in the last tier list, but it was somewhere around here. You know, they're one of those on and off teams. Some weeks they look great, some weeks they don't. They're kind of, you know, pretty good everywhere, one of those type of teams. So they're right in the middle. Next up, the Washington football team. They moved their way all the way up here. You know, they just keep finding ways to win these games, these grimy games. You know, they're keeping the momentum they have from when they defeated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a few weeks back, and they're building off of it. Their defense is looking good. Taylor Heineke's playing fine football. Antonio Gibson's been a monster lately. Shout out to the football team. Next up, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. They defeated the Baltimore Ravens this week by 1 point. The Ravens went for 2 after scoring a game-clinching touchdown. If they would have got the 2-point conversion, they could have kicked the extra point, went to overtime. They chose not to. The Ravens do not convert the 4th down. The Steelers win a close football game, a divisional game, and they're staying in the playoff hopeful tier for now. It blows my mind. Next up, the San Francisco 49ers. They lost this week to the Seattle Seahawks in a close division game. They didn't have Deebo Samuel. Jimmy Garoppolo had some turnovers. Is it Trey Lance time? No one? No. Okay. Well, they're 500. They're still in the playoff race as of now. One of the wild card slots, but you know, they got to win some of these division games coming up. Some tough division games on the way. They got to pull through in those games. They're going to be big. Next up, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. They lost this week to the Los Angeles Chargers. they were out from the start pretty much. They had a nice little rally in the middle of the game, but the Chargers pull back ahead and get a nice lead, win the game by quite a bit. And you know, the Bengals just had some turnovers. It looked like Joe Burrow, well, he did definitely injure his finger, his pinky, on his throwing hand. It was one of those off games you can imagine, and they ended up losing. So they're going to stay in the playoff hopeful tier for now. Next up, to begin the playoff run tier, it is the Indianapolis Colts. Believe it or not, they are not in the playoffs as of today in the AFC. They are 7-6. They've lost so many close games. They started 0-3, but they've been looking really good as of late, and I have to put them above teams that are currently in the playoffs, such as the Bengals and the 49ers, and the Washington football team as well. But I do like what I see with Indianapolis. I feel like they're going to pull through at the end of the season and look really good. We'll just have to wait and see. Next up, we have the Los Angeles Chargers, who defeated the Cincinnati Bengals. Justin Herbert looked great. They spread the ball around on offense. Mike Williams had his big plays. Keenan Allen had a couple touchdowns. The defense had some clutch turnovers. Just a good game from the Los Angeles Chargers. Next up, we have a team that was on bye week, the Tennessee Titans. Like I said, they were on bye. They're 8-4 currently, coming off their bye. Hopefully they can heal up some key priorities on offense. And yeah, we'll see how they come back next week. But as of right now, they're still in the playoff run tier. They are one of the top 4 seeds in the AFC. Next up, the Los Angeles Rams. They got a nice bounce-back win this week after going on a 3-game losing streak. They were falling out of this tier, but they got a nice win. They're going to stay in the playoff run tier. They're a great team. They're the #1 wildcard team in the NFC right now. 8-4. Big win for the Rams, but it was against the Jaguars, so good win nonetheless. But next up, we're going to go with the Dallas Cowboys. They got a bounce-back win this week after losing on Thanksgiving to the Las Vegas Raiders. They got a win this week against the New Orleans Saints. It was a good win. They played great on defense. It was more of a defensive game. A big Tony Pollard play. Other than that, nothing special on offense for the Cowboys in this game. Just great defensive play won them the game. And next up, we have the Baltimore Ravens. They ended up losing this week to the Pittsburgh Steelers in a close divisional game because they took a risk at the end of the game. Lamar Jackson just did not connect to Mark Andrews by fingertips, but they lost the game. You know, I think they're all right, man. They're all right. Lamar hasn't been playing the best as of late, but he'll get things rolling again, I believe, towards the end of the season. And now, we're going to go up to the top tier now. I do want to say, as of now, I'll leave the Patriots and the Bills down here up until after the Monday night game. I'm recording this earlier on Monday right now, and then at the very end of the video, I will throw them where I believe they belong in the tier list. So just bear with me on that one. But for now, the team that's going to lead off the Super Bowl hopeful tier is the Kansas City Chiefs. They're on a nice win streak. They beat the Denver Broncos during Sunday Night Football. Wasn't the best game. More defensive. Their defense has looked great over the past month, and it's kind of been carrying them through some tough games on offense, but nonetheless, they're winning games. Next up, we're going to throw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They'll probably be in my top 3 by the end of this tier list. Like I said, I got to wait to see how this game turns out. But they look good this week against the Atlanta Falcons. Tom Brady had his touchdowns. It looked like they were just trying to force Tom Brady into 60 targets to break some records this year. Next up, it was my #1 team from last week, the Green Bay Packers. Now, the reason they're falling out of #1 is they were on a bye week, and the team that was not on a bye week that has the best record in the NFL, the Arizona Cardinals, they got to be #1. Kyler Murray is back. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, had a great day in the rain, and this team is complete now with DeAndre Hopkins back and Kyler Murray. The Cardinals are rolling into the postseason, it seems. And for Green Bay, you know, they're on the bye, but after their bye, they have some more divisional matchups, and you know, I think they end up in this tier by the end of the season. Going to be one of the top contenders in the NFC for sure. And yeah, that will pretty much round it out for now. I'll be back in a couple seconds to place these 2 teams where I believe they belong in the tier list. And yeah, I'll probably transition to that right now. Let's get into it. What is up? We're back, everyone. Monday Night Football has concluded, and we didn't learn much from that game now, did we? But I think it's safe to say that the Patriots are one of the best teams in the NFL, hands down. The Bills are still a great team. The weather conditions were awful. There were wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour. It was just a weird game. Mac Jones only threw the ball 3 times, and they still got the win. The Bills had the football late in the game in the red zone, and they were down 4 points. Basically, they needed a touchdown to win. They did not convert the 4th down. The Patriots hold. They ended up winning the game. Damian Harris had a long touchdown run early in the game. Ended up doing something to his hamstring, it seemed. Of course, they have the bye week this upcoming week. But we're going to go ahead and rank these teams. We will start with the New England Patriots. I feel like they're a little bit easier to rank. We'll throw them right behind the Green Bay Packers as the number 3 best team in the NFL. It's hard for me not to put them ahead and have one team from each conference at top 2, but for now, I'll leave them at number 3. And then the Bills, they'll go behind the Chiefs. Man, you could argue they could go lower too. That's the issue. But I think we'll leave them right here. We'll put them right here for now. They had a close loss to the Patriots in a game with weird weather. They play again later in the year. That'll be a huge game. I think this is going to be the final tier list right here, everyone. Thank everyone for watching. Thank you everybody for watching the video. Please leave a like. Feel free to leave a comment if you would change anything about this tier list. Please subscribe to the channel. I will see you all soon. I hope everybody enjoys the upcoming week of NFL football. I sure know that I will. And until next time, everyone, deuces.